NFPA 70E Article 130 provides hazard risk categories for electrical equipment. This includes panel boards, switchboards, and also branch circuits. These tables guide the selection of proper personal protective equipment, often shortened to PPE, and safe work practices needed for electrical tasks. Table 130.5c specifically addresses hazard risk levels for panel boards and switchboards. The factors considered are voltage rating, the type of construction involved, and the location of the equipment. Table 130.5d, on the other hand, focuses on hazard risk levels for branch circuits. The key factors considered are voltage rating, the ampacity of the circuit, the insulation type of the conductors, and the location of the branch circuit. Therefore, Article 130 does apply to hazard risk associated with working on branch circuits, in addition to panel boards and switchboards. These tables help in determining the correct PPE and safety procedures for any electrical work, including work on branch circuits. Voltage rating is an important factor. Higher voltages generally pose a greater electrical shock hazard. The type of construction, referring to how the electrical equipment is made and assembled, influences potential hazards. The location of the equipment also plays a significant role. For example, working in a confined space may increase the risk. Ampacity is another key consideration, referring to the current carrying capacity of a conductor. Higher ampacity circuits can deliver more energy in a fault condition, leading to a high hazard risk. Insulation type also matters, as it affects the likelihood of a short circuit or ground fault. Different insulation types have different voltage and temperature ratings. Understanding these factors and properly applying the tables in Article 130 of NFPA 70E helps to ensure a safer working environment when dealing with electrical systems. Remember to always consult the latest edition of NFPA 70E for the most up-to-date information and requirements. When working with electrical systems, safety should always be the top priority. Correctly assessing the hazard risk and using the appropriate PPE and safe work practices are essential for preventing electrical injuries and fatalities. These tables are designed to assist in evaluating electrical safety hazards. First, you must identify the electrical equipment you will be working on, and that may be a panel board, a switchboard, or a branch circuit. Secondly, determine the voltage rating of the equipment. This is typically found on the equipment's nameplate or in the electrical drawings. Thirdly, assess the type of construction. This refers to the way the equipment is assembled and enclosed. Fourthly, consider the location of the equipment. This includes factors such as whether it is indoors or outdoors, in a wet or dry location, or in a confined space. Fifthly, if working on a branch circuit, determine its ampacity. This is the maximum current the circuit is designed to carry. Sixthly, identify the insulation type of the conductors in the branch circuit. This information is typically printed on the conductor's insulation. Once you have gathered all of this information, you can use the appropriate table in Article 130 to determine the hazard risk category for the task. The hazard risk category will then dictate the required PPE and safe work practices. It is important to remember that these tables are just a guide. A qualified electrical worker should always perform a thorough risk assessment before starting any electrical work. This assessment should take into account all of the potential hazards present, not just those listed in the tables. For example, the tables may not specifically address the risk of working on energized equipment in wet conditions, but this is clearly a hazardous situation that needs to be addressed. Always energize electrical equipment before working on it whenever possible. If it is not possible to de-energize the equipment, then you must follow strict safety procedures, including the use of appropriate PPE and safe work practices. Proper planning and preparation are essential for safe electrical work. Before starting any task, take the time to identify the hazards, assess the risks, and implement appropriate control measures. This includes selecting the right tools and equipment, wearing the correct PPE, and following safe work procedures. Regular training is also important. Electrical workers should be trained on the hazards of electricity, the requirements of NFPA 70E, and the proper use of PPE and safe work practices. Refresher training should be provided on a regular basis to ensure that workers stay up to date on the latest safety information. NFPA 70E is not a substitute for good judgment. It is a guide to help you identify and control electrical hazards, but ultimately, it is up to you to make sure that you are working safely. If you are ever unsure about how to perform a task safely, stop and ask for help. It is always better to be safe than sorry. Article 130 is not just for qualified electrical workers. It is also important for anyone who works around electricity to be aware of the potential hazards and how to protect themselves. This includes maintenance workers, janitors, and even office workers. Everyone should be trained on the basic electrical safety principles and how to recognize and report electrical hazards. This training should be tailored to the specific hazards that they may encounter in their work environment. For example, maintenance workers should be trained on how to safely replace light bulbs and other electrical equipment. Janitors should be trained on how to avoid contact with electrical outlets and cords. And office workers should be trained on how to recognize and report frayed cords and other electrical hazards. By working together, we can create a safer working environment for everyone. Electricity is a powerful force that can be dangerous if not treated with respect. By following the guidelines in NFPA 70E and using common sense, we can all help to prevent electrical injuries and fatalities. Always remember to prioritize safety when working with or around electricity. The tables in Article 130 provide a valuable framework for assessing hazard risk. Proper PPE, safe work practices, and continuous education on electrical safety are all vital components in mitigating electrical hazards. These tables are essential tools for electrical safety. Utilizing them properly allows for hazard mitigation and promotes safety. Always prioritize safety when working with electricity.